Harassed on an airplane. Welcome back, but if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I tried to calm down before writing this out, but as I start to write it out, I feel myself getting enraged again. My partner and I were on a flight from LA to Newark after 20 hours traveling from New Zealand 2 weeks ago. My partner has multiple sclerosis and has been struggling with fatigue and mobility issues. Luckily, we are child-free and we were sitting together and looking forward to a calm, quiet flight and getting home to our own bed. It could be worse. We could be dealing with flying with kids. I was sitting across from the aisle from my partner, so not ideal, but still able to be next to him. Enter couple with 2 babies, maybe twins, lap-sitting infants. The mom was going to be Myro with baby 1. Dad would be a couple rows up with baby 2. During boarding, me and my partner already settled in. Dad asked me to switch with him and baby 2. That way, he and mom would get my row of 3 to themselves, and I would be in a full row away from my partner. I said, no, sorry, I was happy on the aisle in my row, sitting next to my partner. He was annoyed and goes very sarcastically, do you want to sit in the same row as the baby? And I said, I have headphones. I'm fine where I am. He walks up to where his wife is waiting and starts scoffing that I wanted to sit next to her and the baby, and started getting in his row. I could hear him being a jerk that he didn't get his way, but whatever, I thought that would be that. It was not. After most of the boarding is done, he comes back and says to my partner, you're not going to tell your wife she should move? You want her sitting next to a baby? My partner says, she's fine where she is. Let it go. Then he turns to me and in the most nasty, condescending tone goes, come on, what do you want? Money? What's it going to take, huh? I know you don't want to sit next to a baby, so how much do you want? Acting like I was trying to scam him. He was being so aggressive and nasty that although I am all about girl power, I was pretty humiliated. My partner was embarrassed and exhausted. The mom was embarrassed and says to him, stop it. Enough now. Dude was literally throwing a tantrum because he didn't want to sit alone with the baby for 5 hours. He goes back to his row and calls down to me. I'm serious. What do you want? I know you want money. I finally respond with, my partner has MS and I want to sit next to him. The mom apologized to me, and the woman sitting next to my SO says, good for you guys, that's your seat. In the end, he convinced both people sitting in his row to move to my row so mom could sit with him, and presumably do all the heavy lifting with the 2 babies. Then at baggage claim, he kept giving us nasty looks. Part of me thought he would apologize. I don't know why, but honestly, their failure to plan is not my fault. He doesn't get my seat just because of his situation. He can ask, I can say no. Period. The end. Everything else just felt so aggressive simply because he was angry that he was traveling with babies and had to be responsible for one for 5 hours with no help. He turned into a gigantic a-hole. Another reason I never want kids. I don't want to turn into that. Ever. Obviously, this guy sounds like a regretful parent. Like he literally says, you want to sit next to a baby for 5 hours? Being a parent is a lifetime, so clearly that's what he thinks about parenting as a whole. Plus, if he's one of those guys who thinks that the women should take care of the kid by themselves, then how do you not get embarrassed acting like such a whiny baby in front of a plane full of people? That's not macho. That's not manly. Suck it up and deal with the consequences. Oh my god, freaking yeast infection of a person. The amount of times I've gotten crappy comments from a coworker about how easy and joyous and carefree my life must be, my god. I mean, to some extent it is. I know my life is a lot easier than those with kids, but buddy, everyone has problems. He thinks it's very stupid I spent my summer obsessively playing Wizards Unite, as it's a huge waste of time and there's so many other things he would rather do if he had free time. B, all I have is free time. When I'm not babysitting my nieces or visiting my parents or hanging out with friends or taking my dogs on a walk or binging a new show or doing favors for people or helping those I love. I always say, these are the choices we make. I chose not to have kids, you chose to have them. And it enrages him. And I've just been slowly getting angrier and angrier about it. And this is exactly why. You perfectly summed it up. F them. When I was a teen, I went to France to visit my aunt. I had never been on a plane before and I was traveling alone. I was also scared of flying. On the way back, I was exhausted, and I asked the adult man in the row if I could have the window seat, as I found it really calmed my anxiety on my first flight. I even explained this. He looked at me up and down and went, nope. You know what I did? Nothing. I just said, okay, sat in my seat and went about my flight. And I was a teenager, a moody, tired teenager, and I was still polite. Dude in the story sucks hard. I feel bad for his wife. As a side note, the guy who told me no was a huge a-hole. I was wearing a v-neck fitted shirt, and just before landing we hit some turbulence, and I was really terrified. As I was clutching onto the armrest and trying not to have a complete panic attack, I noticed him looking down my top. Planes and babies equal all the best behavior. My husband and I aren't always in a hurry to get on a plane just to sit around, and we always pay to choose our seats, so it's not like we're having to fight to sit together. One time we got on a plane in this way, only to find a couple with a baby sitting in our seats, waiting for us to arrive so they could confront us to claim the seats because they had reserved seats and were seated separately. I had zero sympathy with their plan to bargain or guilt us into giving up our seats. I told them I'd pay for the seats so we could sit together, so move. It's a 5-hour flight, and part of the fun is not sitting next to a stranger, so I paid for that privilege. The flight attendant made them move, and there was much grumbling about how uncaring we are. You don't understand. Yeah, you're right. I don't understand how you don't plan ahead and make that a stranger's problem. Just remembering makes me angry. I can somewhat relate. I always reserve an aisle seat whenever I fly because I like to get up every 30 minutes or so to stretch my legs, use a bathroom, etc. On a 10-hour transatlantic flight, a pregnant young lady asked if I could switch seats with her, hers being the window seat. I said no. I intentionally booked an aisle seat for that reason. Fortunately, she took no for an answer. If it wasn't such a long flight, I might have agreed. I really didn't want to be climbing over people 100 times. Just flew back from London on Tuesday. The flight was packed. No room at all. Guy asked me and the other guy in our row to switch seats with his family, wife and teen son. I asked if it was a window seat, and he said no. Sorry, but I can't do that. If it was a 2-hour flight, it would be no big deal, but an 11-hour flight? No way! I sit by the window because I almost never get up and I sleep pretty much the entire flight. He seemed a bit peeved about it, but luckily didn't throw a fit. This guy you dealt with was a total a-hole. The entitlement is beyond crazy. I recently had a situation like this where the mom was a row ahead of me and the dad was in the row next to mine. They didn't ask anyone to move, but once we boarded and we were sitting at the gate, it became abundantly clear those kids wanted to sit by each other. They were upset and crying, so I told the guy in the aisle next to the dad in the middle seat that I would give him my window and take the mom's seat if he would give the mom his seat. He was down with it and I had to sit in the middle for the flight. I fly a lot and never have to sit in a middle seat, but the thought of listening to that for almost 3 hours was not good. That said, how do these people not plan enough to have seats together? They probably could have talked to the gate agents about moving some people around or something. They were also in the main cabin extra on American, which means free drinks, so I'm sure 2 people would have swapped for that alone. I mentioned in another post, if someone acts like this, you should get the flight attendant to settle it. They have a boarding list and they know where every passenger is supposed to be seated. I do a lot of flying, and there's been a big decrease in the past 5 or so years when it comes to expecting people to accommodate children and parents. The flight crew wants everybody loaded up and ready to go because time is money. I specifically get 2 aisle seats because my husband and I are both tall, and we don't want to fight over who has to sit in the middle. I frequently get asked if I want to switch because I look nice. I'm not. There's no harm in asking, and I say no thanks, and that usually ends it. On the few occasions it hasn't, I get a flight attendant and they take care of the situation. The guy is so full of himself and entitled, it makes me wonder if the lady regrets marrying him and reproducing with him. Because if he acts like this in public, I wonder how he acts at home. How can you raise such a big stink over just being with your baby for like 5 hours? And it's your kid. It's not like you're babysitting for someone or doing someone a favor. It's your kid. It honestly makes me kind of judge the lady too, because how can you stand to be with someone who doesn't even want to take care of their own kid? Like, she has the right to divorce him or not be with him if she wants to, but this cannot be new for her. This has to be just so common because she tells him, hey, calm down, stop this. And she seems so embarrassed, not surprised, embarrassed, as if this happens all the time. And probably not the first time he's done it in public too. So she's like, hair too? Lady, divorce him, leave him. It's a major red flag and it's probably been waving for a while. It's time to go. But that's none of my business.